Hi friends, it's Leah. I think that because I did like this schedule thing that it's going to be a little bit behind. So, but that's okay. I don't expect like a ton of people to be here today anyway, just because this is my personal YouTube channel. I don't have tons of subscribers but those of us that do show up, we're going to have some fun together. Hi, Suzanne and Cheryl and Diane. Thanks for coming to hang out with me today. I'm excited. I planned a little bit out. I had like literally nothing planned not too long ago, but I did get a couple of things thought out, I guess, for us to do together. All right, I'm gonna get this also pulled up on my phone as well, so that when I flip things around and start creating, I can still see everyone. I guess I actually need to switch over to my YouTube channel, not Pinkfresh's. Hi, Jess. Thanks for joining me. Excited to have you here. All right. Okay, here we are. Perfect. Okay, don't want audio on here. Let's get that off. Okay, friends, so I think we're gonna make a Pinkfresh card today. As I start to do more lives on my own personal YouTube channel, I'll try to make sure that I am not using Pinkfresh Studio every week. But I thought that for this week, it would be fun. I don't know why it's doing that. There we go. It would be fun to use a stamp set that is actually on sale this week. And what I love a lot about when we have sales at Pinkfresh is it allows me to create with a product that I probably haven't reached for in a long time. And this was one of my favorite stamps sets back when it released. I think it released last year, early last year. Cheryl says she's busy making Pinkfresh Studio gift tags. That is super fun. Let me know, Cheryl, what products you're using to make your gift tags. I would love to hear. So anyway, we're going to use the Modern Layered Florals stamp and die set. This is a stamp layering set that's pretty simple, and I've got a couple of tips for using it. If you've never used it before and if you own it and maybe you've had a hard time lining up the layers of stamping, I've got a couple of fun tips using it. So hopefully I can give you guys a couple of tips for that. And then we'll probably try to get a card put together. I'm going to use some of the new Ina Alpha products, but I don't really feel like hot foiling today. So I'm just going to use some stuff I already have pre-done. So we're going to base our colors around the alphas I already have finished. And of course, I will be using Pinkfresh inks because that's primarily what I use. So I can probably go ahead and get the camera flipped around and we can start having some fun crafting together. All right, give me a second while I do this. I guess I could probably have some on my desk for, let's turn that down just a little. There we go. That's much better. Okay, friends. So like I said, Modern Layered Florals is what we're going to use today. I hope you guys are excited to see this. Sorry, I'm just wanting to check something real quick on my phone, so I apologize. Yeah, Suzanne, I love the alphabets too. So let me actually, I'm going to use this word you because I'll stamp a secondary sentiment from the Modern Layered Floral stamps, and it works really great with the word you. A lot of them do. And so as you can see, I'm going to focus on our oranges and our reds for stamping my flowers so that they coordinate with these alphas. So here is hoping that it all works out. Okay, I'm gonna get this back up on my phone real quick. Okay, so first things first though, let's go ahead and stamp these flowers. So I mentioned I had a couple of tips when stamping these. So it's a really simple layering stamp set. But what I'm going to mention is that if you don't die cut first, you run the risk of placing the flowers in an area where they'll end up getting cut off. So typically when I use this stamp set, I will die cut a couple of layers first with the coordinating die. And then I'll take one of the pieces of cardstock that I cut it from and make it like a little jig in my Misty. And then I'll put a couple of pieces of, what is that called? Post-it tape, losing my brain here. A couple of pieces of Post-it tape in the background to basically line it up. And so what this gives you is it allows you to align each stamp layer in the correct place. That might have been a little bit harder without having the jig in place. So I did not grab all my ink, so I'm going to do that real quick. And I will mention, I am going to use Pinkfresh Studio inks, but as you know, a lot of Pinkfresh Studio inks are out of stock right now. So just kind of is what it is, friends. We are hoping they'll be back in soon. It's supply chain is a killer right now. So, but you know, today is just mostly about having fun and crafting together. So it's not really about promotion or shopping, although I am using something that's on sale this week with Pinkfresh, but it's just more about creating and having fun together. I'm trying to think of what greens I used in these flowers. I think it might be fresh pear and olive, to be honest. So let's grab those. Yeah, perfect. All right, I'm gonna grab hi, Roberta, thanks for joining me. Happy you're here. All right, I'm gonna grab my little ink stands so that as I use colors, they are easier for you to see. Now I'm not ink blending, of course. So what I'll do is I will just put the lids in here, which actually means I should flip them. I'll put the lids in here so that you guys can see the inks that I'm using as we go. Thanks, Roberta. Oh yeah. Feel free to give me a thumbs up, help my video reach some people. Like I mentioned, I don't expect to have a ton of people on here because I am just starting this up and I don't have a ton of followers, but we will just have some fun with all of the people that do join me. Okay, so actually I have to change this up because we will do one layer at a time, and I actually might start with the greenery, to be honest. So let's go ahead and grab start stamping. Now, one thing I'm going to mention, I haven't used the stamp set in a while. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line it up with the stamped image. And I just take a little bit of extra time to make sure that it feels like I'm getting a good placement of all of those stamp layers. And if my hair gets in this, I apologize. But sometimes when you're layering, when you are lining up these stamps, you gotta get in there and make sure that you can see everything. Now, I am here with my little dogs alone. My husband is in Texas visiting his parents for a few days. So I may have to step away and go calm a dog now and then because I have a feeling someone walked outside our front window. So if I have to pardon myself, which I am probably going to here in just a minute to go calm that little girl down, that might be a frequent thing today. She's also had a little bit of an upset tummy this weekend, and so I'll probably have to let her out a few times. Hi, Cindy. Thanks for joining me. Okay. All right, you guys, I will be right back. I'm going to go calm her down and maybe go run her outside real quick. Hey, princess, come on. Come on, let's go outside. Okay, I am back. Okay, so this is the first part of the greenery. So we are going to ink it up with a little bit of fresh pear. So I'm going to move this a little bit more centered. Oh, before I get going with that, I did mention that I actually haven't used this stamp set in a while. And so it is seasoned because I have used it in the past. So I don't really need to season it, but I am going to just wipe it down a little bit, make sure there's not any old residue or dust left on it. And then we're going to go ahead and start stamping it. Right? She is a barking, of course, she's been quiet all day. And then I go live and she decides that she's going to bark at everything that moves outside. It's the law of physics in this house. There's a little hair on there, which I don't want to. There we go. Yeah, this one is really, it would be really hard to line the stamps up without die cutting it first. So I definitely think that step is important with our stamp layering sets. There are some stamp layering sets that they're, you wouldn't have to do that because they're more like my little press it thingy. They're a little bit more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you're just adding like detail layers. But this one, you're actually kind of building a bouquet. And so you kind of need those alignment guides for stamping this one. And I'm going to stamp twice because I am notoriously a terrible stamper. So I typically, thank goodness for stamping platforms. Before stamping platforms, I would have never attempted to stamp with a stamp set like this because I'm a terrible stamper, which is kind of funny that this ended up being my job, but I'm really not a good stamper. Yeah, yes, this stamp especially, Cindy, definitely needs the die cutting first. Okay, I am going to, I realized I cleaned that off and I really didn't need to because I'm going to stamp this twice because I want to have 2 bouquet colors for this card. So I really didn't need to clean my stamp set off, but actually that's kind of nice because I can verify that it still lines up well with this die cut too. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp this one more time. Okay, good, Cindy. I am not alone in this world with being a terrible stamper. Yes, Suzanne, the Misty 100% changed my life. I've been doing this for a long time, well before Misties were a thing. And I dreaded stamping or I would try to make sure that I would stamp on something that if I messed it up, I could do it over again because I just am so bad at it. I have a very light touch. And so when I didn't have a stamping platform, like part of the image would stamp, or I would get, haloing because I'd rock it. I was just terrible at it. So the stamping platform, the Misty, super, super revolutionary for me. And, lots of stampers out there. Right, Roberta, I agree. Like, I hate to go to all of the work, especially stamp layering. I think stamp layering, well, it's fun and beautiful. It is technically a lot of work, especially after lining those all up. And so I don't love the thought of it. You know what? At least I just did this wrong. It's fine. So that was supposed to be the dark layer. We're just gonna go with it though, friends. I didn't look at the floral design, and these larger leaves are supposed to be the lighter color and these were supposed to be the darker, but we're just gonna go with it. It's fine. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and line this up. So you're probably not gonna be able to see the details in these leaves, but that's okay. We're just gonna go with it today, friends. It's what you get when you don't prep anything, right? Actually, let's go ahead and wipe this guy off since I haven't used it in a while. Okay. Cindy, let's give it a whirl. It may end up not looking right, but it'll be okay. I am not going to stress about it. This is a crafting time with friends live. This isn't a live about being perfect. Not that any live is about being perfect, but you know what I mean. This isn't like a company sanctioned live. It doesn't bother me too much. It's totally fine. All right, I don't think I'm going to stamp again just because that is really dark. Let's go ahead and grab the other one, put it on here. Yep, I agree. Cheryl, I could have totally like read on it, but nah, we're just going to go with it. And if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. I am not going to stress about it. Okay, so I'm using olive. This is one of our darker shades of green. And as you can see, I'm just checking each time to make sure that my cardstock is in the corner of my MISTI so that I'm not getting it unaligned. Right? Suzanne, someday will be perfect, but today is not that day. All right, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I probably wish I would have done it the other way, but that's okay. I might end up, you know, a lot of that stuff might end up being covered anyway when all is said and done. Not sure if you're hearing all of the cute little tappy feet going on in my house. My little dogs have decided now that I'm live that they're ready to be awake and walking all over. Okay, Leah, so take a look at your thing. Let's make sure we pick the layer that's supposed to be lighter for the flowers. That one is a bit more important. All right, let's go ahead and get these lined up here. Exactly, Roberta. Flowers and foliage aren't perfect in real life anyway, so who cares if we mess them up a little bit when we're stamping? And I don't know if you guys come to my lives on the Pinkfresh Studio channel at all. I know that many of you do. Can you believe I chose real green for my leaves, my greenery? Typically, I am choosing an less traditional color, but I knew I wanted to match this to those alphas that I have already ink blended. So I went with more traditional greens for this one. All right, let's go ahead and wipe this down just because I haven't used it in a while. Get any dust or particles off of it. Now, if you have, if you feel like you're ever having trouble with solid stamps like this stamping well, what I always suggest is, mine is seasoned, so I don't have to do it, but just take like a standard pink eraser and rub it over your image a few times, wiping off in between each time. And that really helps get that sheen off of the stamp, and it removes any particulates and stuff from the manufacturing process. And it really allows it to ink much better. So keep that in mind when you are using more solid stamps like this, that you definitely want to prep them first before you stamp, or you might get kind of splotchy, icky results. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for joining me. Thank you. I appreciate those kind comments. Yeah, I thought it would be fun. I'm going to start doing more lives on my personal YouTube channel, likely on Sundays, just because I'm not much for creating in the evening. Also, there's a hair on there, gross. Also, I don't have the space to put big, huge lights in my area. And so, you know, Minnesota is kind of dark in the winter. So I am just not much for, I'm going to stamp that one more time. So my, you know, the lighting wouldn't be great and the video would probably be pretty grainy if I did these in the evenings. So Sunday afternoons are probably going to be my best bet for doing lives on my personal channel. And it's probably not going to be every week. So just keep an eye out on my Instagram handle or subscribe to my emails from via my blog, which is just leahlawsoncreates.com. And if you click on the blog tab, you get the option to sign up for emails. And I'll be sure to send out an email about an hour before I choose to go live. So that one was Coral Reef. So let's go ahead and stamp the other one, and we're going to do those ones in oranges. Hi, polymer eraser, Roberta. I don't actually know what that is, but that's awesome that it works. So if you have one of those, you can also prep your stamps with that as well. Hi, Betty. Thanks for joining me today. Okay, let's make sure that this still lines up nice. Sure does. All right, so this time we're going to ink the second bouquet up with some peach fuzz. Nice to have you guys joining me. And like, I always have little random hairs that somehow find their way into my ink pad. It's probably dog hair, but I don't like it when it's in my stamping, so I always have to get it out. I always feel like that makes your stamping look funny. Hi. Oh, a white art eraser. Perfect. Yep. I am making a mess over here. Let's get that off before I accidentally ruin a card. All right, let's stamp that one more time. I actually got a better impression that time. I think I need to re-ink my Coral Reef, which I'm not surprised because I use it a lot. Just make that a little deeper. Perfect. Okay, so we've got just one more layer left to stamp on each bouquet, and that is the details in the flowers. I feel a little rusty stamp layering. Honestly, we have switched over to layering stencils, which I find a million times easier to use. But it's nice to go back to these fun stamp layering sets and try them out again, use them up again. Okay, let's first off get this guy tucked back in the corner. Thanks, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Okay, now let's get these lined up. There we go. And so this layer, I actually find what's easiest to line up are the little tiny flowers that you see that don't have anything, you know, this is their first layer of stamping. I find those to be the easiest piece to line up. And then everything else kind of falls into place. Jackie, so my craft area is at the back of our dining room. So we have like the tiniest house. We don't have a whole lot of extra room. So because we don't use our dining room all that often, there's not many places that we don't allow our dogs to go. So I just have consider it, we're just gonna have dog hair on things. It is what it is. Okay. Yeah, you get those on your clothes. That totally makes sense. Okay, so for the next layer on the orange bouquet, we are going to do apricot. And then of course I shed hair as well. So I could sweep every single day in this house and have like dust and hair bunnies everywhere. It's just welcome to my life, friends. Yeah, Jackie, layering stencils would be nice for this, but with it being an older design, I don't know. I doubt that we will do anything additional with this guy. We'll probably just keep it as is in our layering set. So look at that. So this is how easy these are. And I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't hate the fact that I did the leaves the wrong way. I know you can't see the detail super well in them, but I think it turned out kind of fun. All right, so let's do the other one. Let's do the red version, I guess kind of a more coral version. Well, it's technically in our red family of inks. And then we can just kind of put a card together. I don't even know what design I want to do yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there together. Yes, Roberta, we love stencils at Pinkfresh Studio. That's kind of become our thing, I think. We dabbled in stamp layering, and we have actually some really like fantastic stamp layering sets, but I think that when we started bringing out the layering stencils for our stamps, that was kind of a game changer, honestly. All right, let's make sure that still lines up well. Sure does. And this one we're going to ink up in passion fruit. All right, so while we are finishing this up here, keep in mind, when I do lives on my own personal channel, it's not about generating tons of sales or anything like that. But I did want to mention, I did put a link to this set because it is on, it's part of our weekly promo this week. So what we have it offered up as is if you buy the stamp set, you get the die for free, which is kind of cool. It's an $11 value on with the free die. So you do have to use a code. So you have to put both items into your cart, and then you have to use a code when you go to checkout. So when you hit the checkout button, there is a place to add a discount code. And I'm pretty sure the discount code is all uppercase, free LF die. So if this was a stamp set you were wanting to add into your stamp collection, it is a great week to grab it because it's on sale. So there are our beautiful bouquets using this modern layered floral. Now, you could probably just recycle this, but I'm going to actually tuck it in the back of my die packaging to use in the future as a jig. And so then I don't have to create a new jig, and I can die cut additional pieces out of scrap paper or something of the sort. Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate that. Whew, I'm gonna turn the fan on. It's getting a little warm in here. I've got the sun kind of beating right down on me. Hopefully the fan is not too loud, friends. And I will be right back. I'm going to leave you with these beautiful little bouquets. I'm going to go check on my Yorkie because I think he wants to go outside and he's blind. And so he has a little bit of a hard time getting outside himself. So I will be right back, friends. Hey, buddy, you want to go outside? Come on. Hi, come on. Hi, cutie. All right, I am back. Okay, so we have our bouquets, and I know that I'm going to use the word you, which is already done. So I didn't really feel like hot foiling today live. So I'm just using letters that I've already finished, but just for reference, these letters come from the Ina Alpha product suite that we recently released. These ones are using the hot foil plate and then the coordinating layering stencils And then of course the one-piece dies, which cut them all out. But for people that don't foil, we also have the stamp set available as well. So that's the Ina Alpha. I know it's out of stock pretty much everywhere. But rest assured they are on reorder if this is a set you're wanting to add into your stamp collection. It's just, as you guys know, shipping and supply chain right now is just crazy. So we've got it on reorder. We're just kind of waiting for everything to ship. Yeah, so Cheryl, speaking of life being fun, so my husband is in Texas helping his parents out before winter hits, and we can't make it down there anymore. So I've been home alone with our dogs all weekend. And of course, this is the weekend that I think my Cocker Spaniel must have gotten into something because nothing has changed in her diet. But sorry, guys, I have to adjust that. There we go. But so she might have gotten into something in our backyard. I'm not completely sure. So she hasn't felt good. So she's been up multiple times all night long, wanting to be let outside. Our Yorkie is blind and he needs quite a bit of help each day. So it's been quite a weekend. Like I had all of these plans to like go out and run errands and do a little bit of shopping and stuff, but I haven't wanted to leave Sadie here alone. And just in case she had made a little accident or a little mess. So I have mostly stuck close to home since my husband has been out for visiting his parents. Okay, so I've also got this frame pre-cut already. It's very shiny. I would normally cut this from like more of a matte gold, but I think I'm just going to go with it because my letters are also shiny, even though it's a little bit more minimal than this. But I had it pre-done and I would rather use something up than waste it. So we're going to go ahead and use this frame. And this is from our Pretty Frames 2 die from our Essentials collection. And that is this guy right here. It's actually really cool. It's one die, but it cuts out like 7 frames, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe more like 9 different frames or a label. And some of them are quite thin as well. So, yeah, she is, I would say that would be our Yorkie actually is more the one that gets anxious when my husband's gone. Sadie's pretty chill with whoever. So I really do think she must have gotten into something because even if she has an anxious tummy, it typically doesn't last as long as this has lasted. So, but thankfully she's still eating and drinking water. So I'm not too worried at this point. She's still interested in food and she's still hungry. And she is still drinking water. So that leads me to believe that she just got into something and she's going to be just fine. She is old though. So, you never know with dogs that are older, what's going, anything could go on with them. I'm just kind of testing some things out here, friends, just to see what I think about how I want this to look. Cindy, we released this quite a while ago. It was in like one of our first, maybe our second Essentials release. So it's been a few years that we have released this. So it's a super fun frame set. So it's possible if you're newer to Pinkfresh Studio, you maybe have missed it just because we did release it quite a while ago. Do we have wild mushrooms? We do actually get wild mushrooms. So maybe she chomped on one of those out in the backyard with us not knowing it. Maybe that got her a little sick. Yes, Cheryl, I am going to cut them. I know you don't love that, but I'm cutting them. They're going to be cut, friend. All right. I kind of like how that looks kind of tucked in there. I might mirror the other side a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm not really sure what I would do. You know, I think there has to be less flowers, honestly. I think they're gonna have to be cut down quite a bit, which Cheryl is gonna die a little bit with me doing this. But I think it's just gonna have to be significantly less in order to really make the sentiment work for me. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Honestly, I'm kind of thinking now it might just be better to have them flink more. Ah, there we go. Here we go, friends. I think this is going to be better. Have them flink more at the top and the bottom. Yes, I'm going to be trimming off a considerable amount of flowers. It'll be okay though, I promise, Cheryl, because I don't want to take away from that beautiful sentiment. Okay, so I've got the general idea of what I want to do there, but I need to get a card base. I need to get some foam tape because you know me. I want to pop this all up with some dimension. So let's go ahead and find a card base first, things first. So also first things first, I need to trim some cardstock down, some white cardstock to go underneath. And rather than pull out a trimmer, I'm just gonna run my essential stitched rectangles through the die cut machine. I don't think you're even gonna be able to see the stitching. But to me, that is just easier than pulling my huge trimmer over here and cutting it. So I'm gonna just go ahead and run this through my machine real quick. Right? I'm gonna make you get through this, Cheryl, because I'm sure at some point you're gonna end up cutting some Pinkfresh flowers. When I destroy the flowers, you guys are funny. I promise I'm not gonna destroy them. They're gonna look great. They're gonna look great. Okay, so does anyone else prefer to die cut rather than trim things down? I just think it's easier, and I like that I know that the lines are completely straight. I would rather die cut than use a paper trimmer any day. So like I said, I don't even know if you're going to be able to see the stitching, but yeah, not really. That's okay. It was more about just having a nice, perfect layer. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I have a pre-done orange card base here that we could use. Let me see what I think with these on top of it. You know, I kind of like that, and I like that it's pre-done, which means with it being pre-done, it gets it out of my drawer and room for other things in that drawer. And then I don't have to create another card. So I think I'm just going to go with the orange. It kind of matches the apricot shade in the flower details perfectly. And then, okay, cool. Finally, before we start assembling our card, I'm not cutting yet, Cheryl. You can keep watching for now. Before we start assembling, you know, getting things popped up with foam tape and stuff, I know that I want to stamp a secondary sentiment from the Modern Layered Floral stamp set, because there's a ton of sentiments that work perfectly with the word you. I just have to decide which one I want to use. So I've used the We Are Always Stronger Together a ton. So I know I'm not going to use that one. I actually like the Wishing You Joy Today. And while the you technically is a little repetitive or redundant, that doesn't bother me. And I do like the fact that it is one single sentiment versus like, you know, two lines. So I'm leaning towards Wishing You Joy Today. One, because I haven't used it, I don't think. And it kind of goes perfectly with the word you. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to stamp this just onto some scrap cardstock here in a minute. So I'm going to push this out of my way. And I'm just going to use this little scrap that I have here and line it all up. Okay. Right, Roberta, I agree. I measure okay. I think part of my issue with not wanting to break out my trimmer is that it's huge. And so if I don't pre-do it, especially when I'm working on something live, like I would just rather use a die cut. It's so much easier to run through my machine. Let's make sure this is fairly straight, but I'm going to trim it anyway. So it doesn't matter if it's perfectly straight. And I am going to ink this up in some detail black. You can use any black ink. I just am using detail black because it's what I got. And if you know anything about me and stamping, I'm not a very good stamper. I'm a really light stamper, but I think that I get the benefit of that when stamping some of the Pinkfresh Studio sentiments because they are, pretty tiny and dainty. And so what I like to do is stamp a couple of times and just make sure I stamp lightly, get a good impression by stamping a couple of times, but not pressing too hard and keeping the integrity of the font that we use when they're tiny like that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and wipe this off. I don't worry too much about using a stamp cleaner when I'm only wiping hybrid black ink off of a sentiment like that. If I had been using a much larger stamp set, or excuse me, stamped image, I would definitely use stamp cleaner to get that off because hybrid ink leaves behind kind of a gross residue. And all hybrid inks do it, not just detail black, all hybrid inks do it, but I don't really feel like I need to. Cheryl thinks I have to put a warning in my live saying that no florals were killed during the making of this episode. You're funny. Ow. I mean, I guess I could do that if you really felt I need to. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this guy trimmed down into a thin little strip here. Just gotta find the right trimmer. Now, I do love this little trimmer for trimming down sentiments like this. It's got the little metal guide in the center, so I can really make sure that I line the sentiment up well. Because I know I probably didn't stamp that perfectly straight in the MISTI. I just kind of tossed it in there. So I just make sure that it looks like all of like the, I typically line up off of the tittles on like whether it's an I or a J to get it nice and lined up straight. And then go ahead and trim it down on this side. And I do, for these ones, I'll line up the bottom of those Ys to make sure that they are nice. Okay. And there we have it. That was funny about harming the florals. That makes me laugh. Okay. Honestly, I actually think I think I'm going to change my mind on this, friends. I'm going to keep the same sentiment, but I think I'm going to stamp it in a lighter color. So let's do that again. We have time. All we really have left to do after this is assemble the card. So I think we've got some time. So let me grab this one more time because I feel like the black is just kind of a lot on this card. I don't know. Actually, it's kind of nice. Never mind. Gotta love this. Me changing my mind over and over again in the middle of live. Okay, I think I'm happy with it. So let's go ahead and trim the edges off. I'm not going to do a banner edge or anything. I think I'm just going to trim it down. Whoa. just close to each edge. Oh, Roberta, I'm glad you got one to help you line those things up. Yeah, so that's like my little travel trimmer that I take if I'm, you know, traveling with craft supplies somewhere. But what I found is I keep it handy because it is really great for trimming down little sentiment strips and stuff. Okay, let's get some foam tape going on here. First things first, let's go ahead and create a big panel for my background. I don't have one fully created right this second. So I've got to create one for you. This is just white craft foam. Of course, I'm getting hair everywhere. This is just white craft foam that I get at like a local Michael's. You can really get it anywhere. And then 5-inch score tape. And I kind of shop for score tape at multiple places. I shop at a lot on Amazon. Sometimes this company, I think it's called Score Pal, will send like a coupon via email marketing. And so when they do that, sometimes that makes it better priced than even on Amazon. And so I'll grab it directly from them. But just a couple of places you can find it. It's just 5-inch score tape to allow you to create these nice big panels. So let's move some stuff off here. You know, I have some of those like strip dies, and I think that, I don't know, I have a hard time, I think, with using them. I think they're kind of fussy, and so I've just found having that trimmer with the wire guide is super, super easy for me. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get some thin foam strips on the back of this frame so we can pop it up as well. You could always, if you would rather, you would always just die cut some additional cuts of this in like a heavyweight white cardstock and stack it up. If that's your preference. I'm just going to go ahead and use some foam tape today. It's a little bit easier. I don't feel like die cutting more pieces out. Yeah, I definitely agree that wire guide helps really well with this trimmer. Okay. Another strip. I agree, Roberta. Okay. The Yorkie is okay out there. So these little thin strips, I get asked a lot where I found them. I think I actually just searched on Amazon for like thin foam strips, and I found them, and they were like really relatively inexpensive. So they're not branded. They're just ones I found on Amazon. So keep that in mind if you're ever looking for nice thin strips of foam tape. Add a tiny bit more right there. And then I think we're good on this one anyway. All right, this is the boring part. So we can definitely chat if you want to, because I'm going to go ahead and get foam added onto these letters too, because I know I'm going to want to have foam on them. Yeah, Doris makes them as well. I think these ones are actually, they're longer and they're less expensive. If the Doris ones aren't expensive by any means, but these ones I think are even less. A tiny little piece. Oh, I don't want to trim it. There we go. Okay. Okay, the O, I think I'm gonna have to just be careful because I need to take the release paper off so it can curve the foam, but the foam doesn't curve very well if you have that release paper on. So Just have to make sure I don't stick this to anything I don't want to stick it to. Yeah, Cheryl, I love these letters. They're super beautiful. I know that they're quite a bit of an investment because it's a big set. But I think that they're a alpha set that people will reach for a lot. So I think, especially if you kind of accumulate it over time, it's a super fun one to have on hand. Yeah, Roberta, when this is over, I will I'm sure I will create a blog post with the replay and all of that as well once I get the card photographed and such. And then I'll make sure I have like a full supply list over on my blog that you can check out. Okay, so you'll be able to see some of the stitching. So it's kind of nice to have that little added detail. Okay, first things first, we're gonna have to do some flower cutting. So Cheryl, it might be time to start averting your eyes a little bit if you don't want to watch the flowers get cut off. Okay, I know I want to tuck those little teeny flowers up. There we go. Actually, there. That's kind of fun. Perfect. Really make sure they're down there. Okay, yep, that's exactly how it's gonna go. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. Destruction time. Yep, it is destruction time. Okay, so let's move the card base out from underneath it because it's just giving me more to have to fuss with here. And let's get this in relatively the correct spot. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of liquid glue underneath. And we're gonna glue them down. And let me just make sure that I'm gluing them relatively in the right spot. Okay, perfect. Okay. So then make sure, let's go ahead and do the same thing with the pinks or corals, I guess. There we go. Let's go ahead and add a little liquid glue under here. And I'm gonna add more glue in just a minute. This is just kind of a placeholder. Okay, Cheryl, this is where you're not gonna wanna look because these guys are coming off. And we're gonna trim these pieces off here. I might leave that little guy, we'll see. Yeah, we're just gonna leave those ones. Perfect. Now, I don't know that there's really anywhere that these extra pieces could be used. When I do trim flowers like this, a lot of times I'll try to find another place to tuck the little extras, but I don't know that these ones really have a great place for that. So we're probably gonna let them be for now. But now that I have the trimming done, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more liquid glue underneath some of the layers here. But I'm also going to kind of fluff the pieces up from the white cardstock just to give them a little bit of give them a little bit of dimension and shadow, natural shadowing. Not looking. Jackie, it might have been easier to glue the frame first, but I don't think so because I wanted to be able to, get it tucked in. And as you can see, like I wouldn't have been able to easily trim it off with that. So I think while it was a little fussy, I think that the way that I did it was probably still the easiest way. Okay. Did you hear the screaming? I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did. Okay. All right. So now we've got this. Oh, that's going to be really pretty, friends. I like it. Okay, well, let's get all the release paper taken off the back of this. This is going to be fussy too. That's okay. We'll get through it. I'm still laughing over the screaming comment. That cracks me up. Okay. This is always the most boring part. Thankfully, it's warm outside because I am not sure where my Yorkie ended up. I don't know if he's still outside or not, but it's warm enough out that if he's still out there, he's fine. Okay, so I am going to get this lined up here and get it adhered down the bottom first. And then we're just going to kind of lightly pull these pieces up and get those tucked under. Perfect. Now I feel like I got my gross fingers all over that beautiful frame. So I'm gonna buff it clean here so it doesn't have my icky fingerprints, finger smears all over it. So let's buff that guy clean and it'll look 1,000 times better in person. Okay, so there's that. Let's go ahead and get this mounted onto our card base. I'm kind of digging the orange card base, friends. I think it's gonna make the, I think I want the orange on the bottom. Yeah, I think it's really gonna make the apricot details pop. Make sure I have this the right way. There we go. Like the mandrake babies in Harry Potter. Yes, that's so funny. Hi, Teresa. Thank you. I'm really glad that you enjoyed class in Crop and Create. I love to hear that. You know, I got a little bit of negative feedback that there was too much ink blending with stencils. So, you know, it is what it is. It's the product I had to work with. So, but I'm happy to hear that you enjoyed class. I really appreciate that. Okay, so there is our card. So let's go ahead and get our letters. You know, I want the letters to be on top. So let's get that O centered here. Perfect. All right, and I'm going to kind of overlap them so that the letters stay within the frame. I don't want them poking out too much over the frame. Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate that. Oh, I see my little Yorkie. He's just out there in the yard sniffing away at things. So good. I'm glad that I was able to see him and he's okay out there. Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate your kind comments on that. I was a little bummed out when I heard that, but you know, it's okay. If I'm going to be teaching classes, I have to be okay with feedback, and even feedback that is kind of a bummer. So that's okay. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the ink blending. I really appreciate hearing that. Okay. So there is the U. I think we're going to just kind of pop this wishing you joy up with it, a little more foam tape. You know me, if you catch me anywhere, teaching classes live, I use a lot of foam tape. And that's why I try to find the most reasonable prices for foam tape, because I use a lot of it. Thanks, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Okay. And I'm just going to pop this up over those letters. Sure that looks straight. Okay. Might not be perfectly straight. That's fine. Kind of wished I might actually, after the live is over, gently pull this U back up and add a second layer of foam tape because I don't like how it's not in line with the rest of the U, but I won't worry about that right now. I will do that later if I feel like I need to. Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate that. Okay, let's add a little bit of bling and we will be done with creating a card for today. I have to decide what bling I want to use, friends. Okay, let's see here. Jewels and crystals. I'm kind of leaning towards jewels because I think I prefer the peach fuzz over the bright orange and the crystals. So yeah, we're gonna go with peach fuzz and ballet slipper jewels. Yeah, Roberta, I go through a lot of foam tape and a lot of bling. That is for sure. Okay. All right, where do I want to put this? I think we're going to mostly decorate flowers. So we're going to put a couple pieces of the bling on the flowers here. Yeah. Like that. And then maybe some little ones in the letters themselves. Let's see here. Whoa. Yeah, Cheryl, I did, of course, I did mention in class that my suggestion was to only try 1 or 2 panels while I ink blended all 3. But, it is what it is. It's fine. As you can see, I am not, I'm sure you saw the announcement. I am not teaching the Pinkfresh class this coming, the next Crop and Create. So they decided to ask someone else to do it. I think that might be, I don't think that one is going to work there. Okay, but I do want to add a little bit more bling to this guy. Let me see if it will fit here. Okay. Okay. So Roberta is saying bling is where she struggles. And so I tend to do one of 2 things with bling. I will create little trios sometimes just to fill up a little bit of white space here and there. This card doesn't have very much white space on it. And so if I'm using florals, kind of what I'm using today, I will accent the florals with the bling just to liven those flowers up even more. So as you can see, that is the route I went on this card because I didn't really have like a whole lot of white ballot or white space left in this card when all was said and done, when everything was put together. So instead, I'm just adding some bling to the flowers just to liven them up a little bit. And like, I guess to me, a card isn't complete until it has some bling on it somewhere. Thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate that. I wish that a little peach fuzz jewel would fit in there, but it just doesn't. So I'm not going to cram it in there. It's fine the way it is. Okay, friends, that is my card for today. I actually did finish a card. I didn't know if it would happen, but I am excited about how it turned out. I hope you guys enjoy it too. And I'm really thankful that you guys joined me today. I am going to clean a couple things up here. Let's put these jewels away before I lose them. Let's make sure that's in there. Okay. And so when all is said and done, I might see if I can try to find a little place to put this extra flower, but I don't know if I'm going to use it. So I'll do that later afterwards. Thank you guys. Thank you, Diane and Roberta and Kelly. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, friends, let me get this camera flipped around real quick and I will let you go for the day. Get the exposure back for my front facing. All right. Ooh, that was my Yorkie. He's fine. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for the past hour or so. I had a great time. I'm going to try to do these much more often. Probably not every single week, but maybe closer to every single week now that I'm not gone as much in the fall through spring. Summers are hard just because I'm not here very often. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. I had a great time with you. I hope you guys had fun watching this card come together. I'll try to get it photographed today and blogged and all of that stuff and get the things linked up to just about like the foam strips and all of that. So if you haven't signed up for receiving emails from me, make sure you go to leahLawsonCreates.com, click on the blog, and then a little pop-up thing pops up. If for some reason that doesn't pop up, hold on, I think I have another area. If you click on the blog and scroll down to the bottom, no, there's not. So you just hopefully the little pop-up thing works on yours because I don't see a place down there. So, and then I send out emails with links to new blog posts and such. So then you'll be able to see that. If you don't want to sign up for an email, that's totally fine too. Just be sure to check my blog out later on when this card's all posted and everything. All right, friends, that's everything I have for you today. So thanks for joining me. I'm glad you joined. And thank you guys for sharing a little bit of your Sunday with me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you taking the time out to hang out with me for an hour. And if you have these products or something similar, it doesn't have to be the same exact products, and you create a card inspired by my card, I'd love to see it. So be sure to share it with me. You can share it on Facebook. Leah Lawson Creates is my handle on Facebook. It's my page on Facebook. Or on Instagram, you can tag me at Leah Lawson Creates as well. Okay, friends, have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will talk to you later. Bye.